The college football experience, Miami, Ohio Redhawks 2024 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Yes, they just introduced college football best ball. I'm super excited about it. Once again, UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, get your 7-day free trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Coach June Jones, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. Miami, Ohio Redhawks. I just like saying Miami. They're the real Ohio, like Brett Gabbert said in that press conference. All right, the Miami Redhawks 2024 season preview. I can't talk, people, but it's a good thing you're tuning into a college football talk show. If you're wondering who the hell you're listening to, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. Would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
The medical advice I got for that was watch more Maction. You know I love this conference. All right? They don't change. The whole college football world is changing. The Mac says, no. We got it. Something perfect. Oh, and you're going to mention UMass like my brother did this morning? No. UMass a former member. That's like calling an old friend over back to the house to have a beer. You know what I mean? The Mac's got its core values intact, in my opinion. All right? And that is why I am bringing on this guest. He hosts a hosts a podcast called The Mac Connection, which I encourage you to listen to. Give it a follow on Twitter at the MSC Podcast. Give it up for Alex Shear. How are you, brother? Good to see you again.
Great to see you, my friend. It's football season's right around the corner, and I can't really believe it. It's we've had a lot of chaos this off season, but man, I'm glad to be back here and appreciate the opportunity to talk some action.
Yeah, love having you on the show always. You know, last season, folks, if you didn't realize, Alex was on a slew of our Mac previews. I'm going to try to hijack all of his time over the next week. But he hosts. I just love what you do. All right, you cover the Mac, and you cover the Mac not only from a football standpoint. You cover it from all of their college athletics. I see you at Mac Media Days. All right, I got to get out there with you one of these times. But tell the people about your podcast, man.
Yeah, man, it's the Mac Sports Connection podcast, like Colby said, and it covers everything. I've gone from football to field hockey in the same weekend. I've gone from women's lacrosse over to baseball in the same afternoon. It's really one of those. I feel like this league has so many incredible people, so many incredible stories, so many incredible relationships that I've been fortunate enough to build. I had lunch with the Bowling Green women's volleyball coach just a couple weeks ago. It's such an incredible league, and I'm so thankful to cover it. I do it all. I've even done a day of play with Miami field hockey, the 18-time MAC champion Miami field hockey team. And I know a little flex by them right there. And it's been so fun. I mean, these people, these athletes, these coaches all have just as, if not more, incredible stories as the folks at the Power 4, Power 5. and it's my job to tell them.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah, folks. So get out there, check out that podcast. And I'm honored to have him on the show because we're talking Miami Redhawk football. And I know Alex might have, when I first DM'd him, he might have been like, this bastard wants me on the show after they beat my Toledo Rockets in the MAC championship a season ago. It's okay. You can lie also. But where are you at with Miami in this program right now? Obviously, Chuck Martin just winning a MAC championship upset your boys, man. How'd that go down for you?
So if you remember last year, I caught a little bit of heat from some of your followers for quote unquote being a fan and for you to get the fans off the show. And I think I want to point out that I correctly said Toledo would go 11-1 a year ago.
It should have went 12-0.
Should have went 12-0, but
yeah.
But I said 11-1, and what did they do? They went 11-1, and then unfortunately Miami did great things defensively, offensively in the MAC championship, beat my boys. It's all right. You know, I have love for every team in this league. Chuck Martin, great coach, did phenomenal things getting Miami ready for that championship. And now they're geared up. They're hype for a new season, a new opportunity to go defend their title. If they do, they'd be the first team since Northern Illinois back in the early 2010s to defend a title. A lot of parity, but I'm excited.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The parity in the MAC, I know. That's what, to me, another element that makes this conference so great to talk about. Let's talk about Chuck Martin as I throw up the retro Miami logo here. I got a slew of different logos here. But Chuck Martin, hell of a good coach. He's 130-69 in 16 years as a head coach there. He's won the MAC championship twice in 2019 and 2023. He's coached under Brian Kelly and Rick Rasnick. 3-6 in the Battle of the Bricks rivalry. It took him a while to get that thing established, but he's actually turned the corner, I feel like, if you follow that one closely. I think he opened up like 0-5 or 0-4 or something like that, and he's won a good amount of them lately. And he just got his first victory bell win against Cincinnati. Chance to do it 2 years in a row this year. We'll talk about that. OC is Pat Welsh. DC is Bill Bretchen, I believe. I mean, he's a pretty damn good coach, man, and I'm glad they were patient. This is one of these examples where, we live in this day and age where no one has patience anymore. And I feel like sometimes even if you talked to me last season, I probably would have said fire Mike Houston because I was very upset for East Carolina losing games like this. But I do believe patience pays off. You've seen it with coaches over their course of their career. Some of the most successful coaches. And Chuck Martin at one point was on the hot seat a couple of years ago. Yeah. And, he's since, answered that calling, but he had some bad breaks early on. I remember them being injured one year specifically, and they were injured last year. I mean, even last year, obviously Brett Gabbert, their star quarterback, brother of Blaine Gabbert, was injured. That's what's even more impressive when you think about it. They won the MAC championship. What week did he got injured? Like pretty late in the year. Was that like middle of the year, late in the year, right?
I believe it was week 8. They were playing Toledo at home. And so I was at that game actually. So we were doing a live call. That was our first ever live call for the podcast. And it was one of those, we were not prepared for such a long injury. And so we're just kind of casually talking on air, like, we hope he's okay. And it was one of those awkward things. I've never heard a stadium go quiet for so long with that many people. But yeah, I believe it was week 7, week 8. They were 2 or 3 weeks into conference play at the point.
But that's remarkable. Then down the stretch, Avion Smith ends up starting the games. Mm-hmm. I think Maddox Kopp got in maybe a game or two, but that is really even more impressive to me. You still won a championship with your backup quarterback. He's doing a phenomenal job there. Before I dive into, we like to do this exercise with the group of 5 teams, but before I dive into that, I want to tell the folks out there that the College Football Experience Miami, Ohio Redhawks season preview episode is brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Yes, we are part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Everything in the merch store is 10% off with the promo code football. Look, you can get a Pick Dundee t-shirt out there, right? I mean, studies say I'll have to send you one, but you don't have to. We're not going to charge you for that one. But if you're out there listening, we are charging you, and you're getting 10% off. All right. Pick Dundee t-shirt. Studies say that your chances of perhaps getting asked go up about 97.4% if at a bowling alley on a Wednesday night after 9:00 wearing that shirt. All right. We've done a lot. We've tested that on about 6 or 7 different people. So it's really working. We will get on over there. Get yourself a Pick Dundee t-shirt. There's also college football experience t-shirts. There's a bunch of other great stuff. Mike Leach, Coach Leach, swing your sword. We always believe by that motto, swing your sword. Check out his book, Swing Your Sword. We have shirts dedicated to our friend who passed away, Mike Leach. So go out there and get one of those. And so promo code promo code football. Too many coffees. Jump on over there. Plus college football kicks this week. Tune into the Sports Gambling Podcast and the College Football Experience for Week 0 picks and all your favorite future bets on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right, back talking Redhawk football, and I like to do this exercise. We didn't do this last year. I got slides this year. You know what I mean? I've been putting in work behind the scenes.
That. It looks great, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And we do this exercise. What do you think the best win is out of the, and not just head to head, not like, beating their rivals, Ohio, even though those are probably their best wins. This is just a shit on the Power 5 a little bit.
We love that.
Yeah, I like, they like to think they're all high and mighty, but don't forget Miami went into Vanderbilt and said SEC, and got it done 33-30. This is since the turn of the century. I'm not going back this is since the year 2000. All right. But they have this is what I mean is this program is a good football program. Obviously Ben Roethlisberger from here and many other greats. They like to tout even on their Twitter page, winningest program in the MAC. Mm-hmm. Is there one that stands out to you though? Is it maybe they took down Louisville in a bowl game when bowl games actually mattered, 49-28. Getting the best of Cincy last year as they think they're, we're Big 12 now. Northwestern, maybe North Carolina went into Keenan Memorial down there in Chapel Hill, got it done. Is there one that stands out to you that's more meaningful than the rest?
I'd say when you talk about it, that Louisville game up in the GMAC Bowl in Detroit, that would have been 2004. That was Ben Roethlisberger's final game. He'd actually just announced to the team, I believe, the night before. Guys, I'm going to the NFL draft. They came out and they just beat the snot out of Louisville. They finished 10 in the country that year. That was a really good Miami team. Obviously,
I think they went 12-1, right? Didn't they go 12-1?
Yeah, something like it. Yeah, 12-1, 13-1. And I mean, they were just so good that year, so dominant. They lost an early one to a Big Ten school, if I remember correctly. I'm trying to just recall this off the top of my head, but they lost an early one to a Big Ten school. And then just ran the table. They ran away from everybody that year. And it's really impressive just how good that Miami team was. And I apologize. This would have been 2003, not 2004. Toledo won the MAC in 2004. Yes, I remember that. But yeah, so that Louisville game stands out. Anytime you beat your big rival, of course, when you beat Cincinnati, Cincinnati's had their number for the last 16, 17 years. But when you can get those victory bell wins, that's always nice. It was awesome getting to see that bell this last year after Miami won it back. That was cool. I've got a great photo of me and one of the guys who helps me with the show standing with that bell. But really, I mean, the North Carolina one, you got to love that. That's a big time win over an ACC school. Vanderbilt, I mean, I'd say that's impressive, but it's Vanderbilt. I mean, they would maybe win 4 games in the MAC, maybe. Let's just call it what it is. Love you, Vandy. I love your baseball, but maybe just put the lid on football for a while. But yeah, I got to say the Louisville one, man.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's the one. Even though they did beat the hell out of UCF, but that was when UCF was in the conference. But hey, I like to humble those UCF fans. It's just like they're the I get it. I love what UCF's building, but at the same time,
I get along with those UCF fans. Those they talk very fondly. Unlike Cincinnati fans, they talk very fondly to me about their time in the MAC and how they appreciated being in the MAC. Cincinnati fans, I can't even say the word Cincinnati on my Twitter account without 50,000 people screaming at me and saying how awful Miami is and that it's not a real. It's give me UCF fans all day. I'm probably one of the only people in the country who will say that, but give me UCF fans all day.
Yeah, I mean, look, UCF fans. The only reason why they bother me is because they were called the Golden Knights for like the 1980s, 1990s, and like early 2000s, and then they up and switched it. And I did a podcast saying they're the UCF Golden Knights, and like 100 of their fans are saying, "We're not golden. We're not golden. What are you, stupid?" And I'm like, okay, but you can't just all of a sudden change your name like that. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, what is that offensive? Well, I'm so confused, right? So now I lean into it. Even today, right? Like literally like an hour and a half ago, I released the UCF, episode a long time ago, like a month ago. And I still get the Twitter page getting hit up. The guys saying, "I'm giving you a golden thumbs down for this, for calling it." And I go, "Well, you don't understand that you've made it the fucking joke. If the next year I might have just not noticed, but now every year I lean into that. Every time I mention you, I'm leaning into that."
Yeah.
Anyway, it's
Don't get banned from Twitter for engagement farming with that.
right. Yeah. You got to watch out. Folks, we're going to talk about the Miami, Ohio Redhawks offense, defense, special teams, go game by game on the schedule. But before I do that, I want to let you know that the college football experience is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Yes. Underdog Fantasy Pick'em is giving you a chance to win 1,000 times the amount of money you enter over there, or play fantasy football the right way with Best Ball. Yes. Best Ball Mania is live with $15 million in prizes. I am super excited. As someone that is a fan of playing best ball as opposed to just regular fantasy football, for some reason college football never had it, and now Underdog Fantasy has changed that. They have introduced college football best ball. NC Nick and Moneyline Mac did an episode regarding that on this very feed, so search for that. I'm super excited about that. But yeah, they have a ton of stuff for college football. You can now use specials and boost on all flexed entries. So what are you doing? Sign up. And when you do, sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN. We're also brought to you by Circa. If you haven't been to the Circa in Las Vegas, I mean, their owner Derek Stevens, he knew a thing or two about a thing or two, because he has built sports heaven. All right, it is like you can hang out in a pool, every sporting event on, that you can imagine, and it's just, if you haven't, just Google image that thing. It's fantastic. Circa Sports is back, giving away $16 million in guaranteed prizes with their Circa Survivor and Circa Millions. If you don't have a trip booked yet, this weekend is the one. I know you're probably listening to this on a Tuesday, but you still have a lot of time to get there. All right. So, the ultimate contest weekend is going on this weekend, folks. It's a great time to go out. You can hang with my friends, my pals from the Sports Gambling Podcast, Shots Stacking the Money Green, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. And don't forget, you can also hang out with the Bet Detective, CJ Sullivan, the host of the Bottom Line Bombs podcast. All of them are going to be out there that weekend, or this upcoming weekend, I should say. So go on out, all right, and enjoy some of the open bar events at the greatest sports book in the world, August 22nd to August 24th. And look, here's a little handout for you. Use the promo code SGP15 to get you 15% off your hotel room this weekend. And you want to sign up in person at Circa Sports between now and September 7th. That's when the NFL kick is, with that silly ass kickoff they're doing. And use a proxy to play from anywhere. All right. We even have a deal with the proxy. Go to proxy.footballcontest.com to save you $50 with the promo code SGP. They're going to give you a free hat too. Who doesn't want a free hat? Get on over there. All right. Haven't done our studies on that yet at the bowling alley, but we'll check it out. We can start something there. Go out there, get a free hat, $50 off. Hell of a deal there. Folks, we're back talking Miami, Ohio Redhawk football. The offense a year ago. Now, once again, I should emphasize that the starting quarterback got knocked out for the season after in game 8. I think it was, we figured out, they were 77th in the nation in scoring per game. Despite that, just about 26 points a game. That was third best in the MAC, 108th in yards, 7th best in the MAC, 118th in passing. That was 9th best in the MAC, and 64th in rushing, 5th best in the MAC. I don't put a lot of weight into these numbers when you're starting quarterbacks, injured for this long, especially one that's a super experienced quarterback that had been there a while. What do you make of these numbers? Is there one that, I mean, I guess, you know what, the scoring, I think the scoring is pretty respectable, especially considering you lost your quarterback for the season.
Well, I think the scoring's pretty respectable. In fact, actually, after losing Brett Gabbert, they only scored over 25 points once the rest of the way. I mean, they won the MAC championship 23-14. They ended up losing that weird bowl game with App State, the Cure Bowl, that Mud Bowl, which, I mean, come on, that's real football right there.
I love that thing, man. That thing was fantastic. I watched that a couple times. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was a great game. Sad for the Redhawks, of course, but I could watch that all day. That was a great one.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
But, I mean, they shut out Akron 19-0. They beat Buffalo 23-10. And then at Ball State, the battle for the Redbird rivalry, they did not score a lot of points. But prior to that, prior to Brett Gabbert going down, 41 points over UMass, 31 over Cincinnati, 62 over Delaware, 23 over Kent State, 27 over Bowling Green, 34 over. I mean, this is a good offense when they have their healthy starting quarterback, and I think we're going to see more of that this year.
Yeah, and look, I want to highlight what they have returning. They have 6 starters back. Mm-hmm. Now like these. I just previewed Ohio this morning. Go listen to your Rivals preview. You always want to know about the enemy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but they got raided in the portal. This day and age, it's really hard to protect everybody because you got these other schools coming in with a ton of money. But getting Brett Gabbert back is gigantic news here. I think that's so big for this offense because you're going to be breaking in a few other guys. A few other guys did leave. We'll get to that in a second. But bringing back the quarterback that could he knows, and he's a super experienced quarterback. I feel like he's like 25 years old. I don't know that for fact, but I know he's older. He's an older quarterback because of the injury situation. That's really going to help the young players, having your leader and knowing where the ball is going to be or should be, game in, game out, play in, play out. Tight end Jack Coldiron, great name. He's back as well. And look, here's what you really got to love: 4 of 5 starters back on the offensive line. Yes. I think they're thinking repeat here. Let's talk about what left though, because Avion Smith, who won the MAC championship, backup quarterback, heads out to Alabama A&M. I was a little surprised at that because I was like, what happens if Gabbert gets injured again? Or he's a senior. So next year, they might hand you the keys. Were you surprised that Avion Smith left?
I'm not surprised in so much as the idea of, look, I won a championship. I'm now marketable. I've proved that I can play football and I can win. I don't want to sit behind Brett Gabbert for another year and, all things being told, hope he gets hurt or hope something happens where it's not going to happen
now.
Yeah. So there's an opportunity for him to play now. I of course wish him the best of luck. I think he's a great player, and I think Alabama A&M is a great fit for him.
Well, here's another thing too. You've seen this with a couple players where they come back. Mm-hmm. So if you can just go somewhere, get some experience, develop as a player, maybe he comes back. You never know.
Ben Bryant at Cincinnati. Is that who you're thinking?
Yes, Ben Bryant at Cincinnati. You've seen that with a few different players. The Jacoby Criswell is North Carolina's quarterback this year. Well, he's in contention for the starting job. He lost out to Drake May, transferred to Arkansas, and now Drake May goes to the NFL. Maybe I'll come back to Chapel Hill. You guys are always so friendly. So you never know. Rashad Amos, though, was a big one. He was a very good player for them a year ago. He heads out to Ole Miss. Had originally committed to Colorado, ends up going to Ole Miss. That one is a guy that ran for over 1,000 yards and 13 touchdowns a season ago. That's hard to replace. But also Kevin Davis in the running back spot left. We don't know where he's landed yet. Gage Larvadane also heads out to South Carolina. At these SEC teams just coming in and just trying to take all the MAC talent. Matt Reardon also heading out to a good FCS in Youngstown State there, the Penguins. That's some hits. You got to admit those are, despite bringing back 4 of 5 and your longtime quarterback, Which one do you think hits? Which one hurts the most? You think it's Amos?
I think it's got to be Rashad Amos. Anytime you lose a starting running back that played at that level, that's played with such a high motor, that's always hard to replace. Now, I do think Kenny Tracy has the skill set. He's a senior this year, has the absolute skill set to be a competitive running back, to be a good running back, especially behind a veteran offensive line. This isn't so. Yes, you're going to see a step back, but I don't think it's as bad of a step back as what people might think it's going to be. And he's got his brother on the offensive locker room to kind of give him a little bit of crap in case he fumbles a ball or two. So.
Yeah, I like that. You always got to have big brother. Not afraid. You know, he can tell you anything. Your brothers can tell you anything. If it's another teammate, then it might be on. But shout out to Ryan Hasty in the chat. He goes, "Let's fucking go. This team was decent last year. Decent. They were good. They were champions. Let's go." Now the portal works both ways, and I was intrigued because I knew coming into it, even before I made these slides, I knew Amos and Larvadane were gone, right? And Avion Smith too. I think I had noticed on Twitter. I'm intrigued. Dylan Downing comes in from Purdue at the running back spot. Wide receiver Cam Perry from the Indiana Hoosiers. Wide receiver Andre Johnson, who, you know, he had some. I can remember a decent amount of games where he did all right there in Tempe. Tight end Preston Daniels coming in from Florida State. They only had an undefeated season last season and still weren't allowed to go to the playoffs. This is ridiculous. But my point is that I kind of think you can make the argument if the running back situation pans out, whether it's Downing, whether it's Tracy, they might be more talented at wide receiver this year and maybe even tight end. What do you think?
So I think wide receiver was going to be the question mark coming into the season, especially with the transfer portal. But as you said, the transfer portal gives, the transfer portal takes. I think in this one, if you're a MAC school and you're a defending champ, if you can bring in guys who were even lower tier contributors from a Power 4 program, I think that's an absolute win, no matter how you dice it. Doesn't matter that these guys may not have played more than 5-6 games in their career. That was time with those players who had more experience. You got to learn with those players. You were in practice with those players. Now you're bringing that experience with you to a school who has maybe had one or two of those kind of players. You were surrounded by a team of that of that caliber. You're bringing that experience, and I think that's a huge, huge boost to the wide receiver room.
Yeah, well, and also the coach could just be off on you. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, there's plenty of situations where you could sit there and say, well, this guy was a backup, and he ends up being better in the NFL or better, you know, when he transfers, they go, whoa, who the hell is this guy? Shout out to Rob in the chat. He goes, SEC's poaching guys not even in the portal. That was one of the funnier things, Alex, that I thought from the NFL draft that wasn't talked about enough was when Nick Saban, he's given a draft analysis for the cornerback from Toledo, Quinyon Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, one of the first corners taken, and he says we tried to get this guy to enter the portal. And he didn't enter. This, how is that not talked about enough? That's clear tampering. I love how they're interviewing or they're and giving Jim Harbaugh shit for like eating a cheeseburger with a recruit. Which he was supposed to not meet with the recruit during that time. Whatever, I get it. He broke the rules. He had a cheeseburger. But you have Nick Saban that just said they was contacting a player. Now I know he's no longer coaching, but the school can be dealt something because that is clear. What are we doing here? This is ridiculous. Rob's right.
Well, and I think you're absolutely right. You know, I remember watching that live, I was in a texting with some guys, and we were just, what is Nick Saban doing? I mean, he doesn't care anymore. He's like, whatever, Alabama, they get fined. Doesn't affect me, you know. But I think what I find really interesting is he doesn't talk about other schools, and I'm sure he's had lower level staffers who are like, hey, we're gonna scout this guy. We're gonna, all these coaches know each other. I remember Tim Lester, the former Western Michigan coach. He and I talked about a player that transferred to Western. He knew the coaches in Alabama. He just texted him and said, hey, this guy, he's in the portal. What do you think? And they're like, oh, we think he'd be a great fit. These coaches all know each other. So even if they weren't directly contacting Quinyon, they were probably contacting Toledo coaches like, hey, what's his mindset? Is he going to enter the portal? Is he not? What are we looking at? And I think it's even funnier considering if you know anything about Nick Saban, his first college coaching gig was at Toledo. He won a MAC championship back in 1990. So he has a very, very direct, albeit very small, but very direct pipeline to Toledo. And I found that really, really interesting.
Yeah, that really was. Do you think this offense will be better this year than last season? I mean, I think those numbers will definitely be better because even though you lose a couple pieces from last year's championship team, which they were good pieces, I think just as long as Gabbert stays healthy, the numbers will be better. And I think you could be more talented on the outside than perhaps you were a year ago. I mean, it remains to be seen, but I think you could. It's possible there. What's your take? You think this offense will be better than a year ago?
So I think it could be a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, you've got guys who left who were in the system for a couple years. Gage Larvadain being kind of the big one that everybody really talked about. He had been in the system for a while. People knew him. He had played great ball for Miami. You've got newcomers. You've got to teach them your offense. You got to teach them your schemes, your patterns, even your signal callers. What color Gatorade he likes on game. I mean, you've got to teach them everything. It comes down to forgetting everything you learned at Purdue, Indiana, Arizona State, whatever. Now you have to learn a whole new system. And depending on when these guys got here, I don't know when these guys got there. I think they were spring transfers, so they've had time.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. I think it's so important if they can learn the offensive schemes quickly and they can gel with Brett Gabbert quickly. This is going to be an incredibly dangerous offense, and they're going to average far more than 25.6 a game.
I agree. Obviously timing does matter. And that's the thing in the portal is how fast can you retain everything. But I think one of the things that helps that is when you have a veteran quarterback that probably when you get to your 5th year in college as a quarterback,
this is year 6 for him now.
Yeah, 6. That's what I'm saying. You're going to know the ins and outs of the offense. But besides your coach there, if your coach is grabbing a Gatorade or something, you're going to be able to tell the player, no, I like you here coming out of that break. You know what I mean? Or wherever it may be. I just think knowing the offense, knowing where you're supposed to be, if you have a quarterback there, where as opposed to a transfer, a bunch of transfer wideouts or tight ends coming in or running backs. And you're coming in, it's a brand new quarterback. Well, he's learning the offense. He's not going to be as confident where you're supposed to go. You might have more confusion. So I think that's a real bonus to this team is getting Brett Gabbert back for his 6th year of college football. I gotta love Brett. I would stay doing it forever if I were you. All right. See if you can get that COVID eligibility too. Let's go. The defensive side of the ball we want to talk about here. But before I do that, want to tell the fine people out there and listening along that the college football experience is brought to you by Rhythm. Yes, football season is here, and college football and NFL models are now live on Rhythm. Create your own winning betting model, or let Rhythm do the heavy lifting for you. Yes, you can decide what stats matter most to you, and then Rhythm will build a custom model around that, or just sit back, crack a cold one, let Rhythm do all the work for you. It'll figure it all out for you, do all the heavy lifting. Rhythm uses AI projections from MIT data scientists and quants, and Rhythm already has you covered for NFL Week 1 and college football Week 0. I don't know about you folks out there, but I'm going to take those Yellow Jackets plus the points there in Dublin, Ireland. They're going to be able to hang with Florida State with so many moving pieces that will, once again, that's a perfect example of what I mean. A new quarterback coming in, 3rd offense in 3 years. A bunch of new transfers coming in. I think that's going to take a little time to figure everything out there. Florida State might still win the game, but I like the Yellow Jackets and the points. Claim your free 7-day trial period today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's RITHMM. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of the MLB, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Yes, prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets, folks. So look, it's August 20th. We're getting close to the World Series. Regular season. If you haven't had a chance to go out to a game yet, make sure Maybe you're listening in the Ohio. Get out to a Cincinnati Reds or a Cleveland Indians game. You can do it, folks. But use the Game Time app. Use that promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. But also, if you're gonna go out to Yager Stadium, this works for college football. This works for anything really. You're gonna go see Dave Chappelle. You're gonna go see, I don't know, David Blaine, whatever, anything. Use that. All right, CFBX is what you need to type in there. All right, so take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code CFBX for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create that account, redeeming code CFBX for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Ryan's asking me in the chat if I would still play Georgia Tech at 11. I would. Anything above 10, I feel decent about. You know, Haynes King, and see, this is exactly, we can, you know, I could turn this into the Miami conversation because Haynes King had Georgia Tech's offense put up very good numbers a year ago. Haynes King had transferred in from Texas A&M, and they put up really good numbers. He actually rushed for like 500, 600 yards, something like that, maybe even more. And then this is year 2, and they bring back a good chunk of that offense. Whereas on the other side of it, Florida State went out and brought in a slew of transfers, which I think Florida State's still going to be a very good team. And if they played in October, I'd probably tell you take the Seminoles minus the points. But I think the advantage here is in the Yellow Jackets' favor that they have the continuity there, as long as they don't get shit hammered in Dublin, which is almost impossible not to. You know what I mean? Like that's the one thing you got to worry about. But I think they're Georgia Tech's a good academic school. They're going to be smart enough to know we got to wait until after the game, right? Whereas Florida State might just be saying, "Hey, we never been to Dublin, Ireland." Dublin's a fantastic city, by the way. If you have not been to Dublin, you can find a good time very easily in Dublin. So
I gotta tell you, Georgia Tech's got to find a defense though. They gave up 38 straight points to Bowling Green a year ago. That's
right.
So.
That is true. That is true. That defense was horrible. They fired the DC. He's now at I think Georgia State. That's a little concerning. That is a little concerning. But you're getting more than a touchdown. I'm going to take the offense because Florida State's whole defense. Jared Verse is in the NFL. A slew of those other guys that started on that defense are in the NFL. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
former Western Michigan player, by the way.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I told you we could tie this into the MAC. That's easy to do.
It hurts me though, man. Like
it does.
I understand like it's cool if you should be able to transfer schools just like any other student.
Yep.
But man, you think like some of these players, the MAC has been robbed now of JJ Watt. You know what I mean? Like how many great Daquan Finn's at Baylor now? Having a great, he's probably gonna have a great season there. Yeah, probably gonna have a great season there. You can go one by one on these players that transfer elsewhere, and it's in a way it's sad, but I also am like, if you're like get your money, man, get paid. You never know if you're going to make it in the NFL. You never know if you're going to make it, get money. But at the same time, it's like, man, don't forget who made you. You know what I mean? And who invested in you. I don't know. I'm going to have that conversation with my son one day. Hopefully if he's playing ball. I'm going to say, dude, go be a millionaire. Give me that money. I'm joking. But the defense for the Miami, Ohio Redhawks, look at these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is super impressive. 8th in the nation in scoring defense. Bill, what was it? Bill Brechen? Is that what I said it was? 8th in the nation. He's the DC. They're 2nd in the MAC. They were 8th in the nation, 2nd in the MAC, only because Ohio's defense was incredible. 26th in yards, 4th best in the MAC, 27th in passing, 7th best in the MAC, 34th in rushing, 3rd best in the MAC. Well done. Yeah. This is impressive numbers, man. This is very impressive numbers to be top 10. You look at what's coming back too. I get excited about the possibilities. Miami, Ohio, look, 12-team playoff this year. This isn't that bullshit from before. The highest ranked group of 5, even though I really believe every conference should be able to get in. You win your conference you're in, just like every other playoff in the world, I feel like. But there's an opportunity here. Chuck Martin's squad won the MAC last season with their backup quarterback. They returned 6 starters on defense, 2 on the and look at this. This is what I like too. 2 on the D line, 2 in the linebacking core, 2 in the secondary, and your punter's back. Now, what the reason why I like that is because it's not like one glaring weakness. Sometimes you get, your whole defensive backfield back, but you're breaking in a brand defensive line. I like getting two of each. I think that can really pay off for you. The defense should be pretty good yet again. The losses though, Caden Woolard heading out to Oklahoma. That one's it's gonna hurt a little bit.
Big loss.
Gonna hurt a little bit. The other guys they transferred, but they haven't landed anywhere. And this is another huge loss. Graham Nicholson to Alabama, and I did hear some folks down there in Tuscaloosa raving about how good he is. So if it's a close game, that is concerning. Who's the bigger loss though? Woolard, right?
I think it's got to be Woolard. I mean, you talk about Graham Nicholson, the Lou Groza winner last year. I think Alabama was upset that their kicker didn't win it, so they went and got the kicker who did.
Yeah, let me guess. Saban was talking to him a day before he left. He was just trying to get him to enter the portal.
Saban has all those MAC ties. I'm telling you, man. Played in the MAC, coached in the MAC. He knows this league. But I think Caden Woolard is the biggest one. I just losing that edge. That's one of those that I think. Yes, you get other interior defensive linemen. You get great players back, but when you lose a stud like Caden Woolard, I mean, best of luck to him at Oklahoma. His family follows the podcast and they're so supportive, but he's going to be awesome at Oklahoma, and Miami's going to very severely miss him.
Yeah. Now, once again, the portal goes both ways. So Chuck Martin and the crew, but look, they didn't really. I think they're happy with their defense. They brought in Savio Frazier from Mercer, which, by the way, SoCon, underrated conference there in the FCS. One guy. I feel like I'm doing the service academies. Look, but that when your defense is top 10 a year ago, yes, you lose one guy to Oklahoma, but you replace him with a kid from Mercer, and that's all you need. The defense is still intact.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you think that's a good thing? I mean, I kind of think it's a good thing, but I also think could you have helped could you have added depth maybe? I don't know. What do you make of that?
So I think Miami's likely going to have the best defense in the MAC this year. And I say likely only because we don't know what the Toledo defense is going to really look like until we get into the season. I think Toledo will have a good defense, but I don't know that it'll be the best in the league. They return a lot of starters as well. But I do really think that Miami's going to have just another fantastic year of defensive play. Ty Wise, Matt Salopek, two of the top 5 tacklers in the Mid-American Conference, both coming back. I mean, that's huge. And I don't care who you are, especially if they're playing linebacker. That's huge when you have two guys that combine for over 300 tackles on a year.
Salopek's got to be related to the Western Michigan quarterback, right?
I haven't been able to confirm that yet.
He transferred. I think he's going to Elon now, or he transferred somewhere in the FCS, and I think maybe it was Elston P. Somewhere where he's going to be good, because I actually was impressed with him as a freshman.
Yeah.
I remember that Michigan State game. I was like, hey, this guy's pretty good. Curious there. Maybe I just feel like that name with those names, you got to be related, right? But I do think they're going to be the best defense in the MAC as well. When you look at what happened to Ohio, their defense coordinator heads out to Memphis. Their entire team gets raided, man. I still think don't sleep on Tim Albin. Ohio will be better than what you think, but clearly this team loaded on the defensive side of the ball, and really, I'd say loaded as far as the whole roster, really, in a great spot to potentially win back-to-back MAC championships. The win total is sitting at 8 wins. So Vegas, maybe just as high on the Redhawks as us. The over is plus 100. The under is minus 120. So Vegas slight lean, saying 7-5 is more likely than 9-3, but they see 8-4. What's your first take on that? And by the way, they're plus 250 to win the MAC championship, plus 2,500 to make the 12-team playoff invitational, and plus 200,000 to win the Natty. What's your first take when you see 8? You say without diving in the schedule, you just think, oh no, they could be a 9-win team, 10-win team. I mean, you nailed Toledo last season.
That was a lot of research and a lot of sweat. I'll tell you that one. I mean, I think Miami is easily a 9+ win team. I think the MAC champ, obviously the 250 is a good one, but I really like their 9+ this year. So this feels like very, very, very free money to me.
Yeah, let's jump into that schedule because week 1 they are heading to. Have you seen the stadium Northwestern's using this season?
I can you call it a stadium? It looks like a sandbox.
Folks, if you have not seen, I don't even know what they're calling it. It's not Ryan Field, which I loved. Unfortunately, they detonated that place.
I think it's just called our field because it's like way too small to be Ryan Field.
You can skip rocks at halftime. They're gonna do a skipping rocks competition. So make sure you stay in your seat. I think they can win this game, man. I already took the 4.5 points. They're 4.5 point dogs at Northwestern. Northwestern, obviously, great first year for Braun. There, eight wins, but I expect regression. And when I think about the experience factor that Miami, Ohio has with Brett Gabbert, give me the points, and I think they can win this on the money line. Give me a 1-0. Let's go. What are you doing here?
Oh, I mean, this is a 1-0. Northwestern is going to be a good kind of welcome back to college football for Brett Gabbert. You know, you've had all this time off, and I think this is going to be a good way to kind of get settled in, and then you get an immediate bye. I think that's exactly what you want if you're Miami. Let's get these early season jitters out of the way. Let's win this game, and then let's settle in and get our sights set on Cincinnati.
I can't wait for this game, man. And I think I made the mistake of putting this on the 12th. This is not a weekday game, folks. This is a Saturday game. But the Battle of the Victory Bell is a fun rivalry. I remember watching it back in the 90s and stuff when, Cincinnati was in the CUSA. Or actually, I remember when they were independent. But you got to wonder, like, Cincinnati returns all 5 offensive linemen. If you go listen to the Cincinnati preview, I had not previewed Miami, Ohio yet. So I was sitting there saying, well, they're probably going to get revenge. But then I'm like, well, you think about what all is returning at Miami, Ohio. It's a little more than I realized. I think this is anyone's game here. And the fact it's at Yager Stadium there, someone's going to be doing Jaeger bombs in the parking lot. And it might be Michael Barker. All right. Our pal, college football campus tour. But just because I said Cincinnati on the Cincinnati show, I'll say the Bearcats win. But how about this? If you lose Northwestern, you're winning Cincinnati. I got you 1-1 after 2. Tell me you got him 2-0, Alex.
Man, I've got him 2-0 tentatively. I know I'm putting a little asterisk here. So this game dialed up by about 1 million in the last 4 weeks. As you know, the Cincinnati-Miami rivalry is done within the next 3 years.
What the hell's going on with this shit too, man? I've seen this with the
called
iron
realignment,
skillet.
baby.
I know.
No, I mean, and I want to be clear. This is where I caught a lot of my heat from Cincinnati fans. Cincinnati fans, I'm talking to you. I know that this was Miami wanting a little more money. I know this wasn't your fault, except it also kind of was. This is a matter of conference realignment. We knew once Cincinnati went to the Big 12, they were going to expand that conference schedule. Somebody's going to get bumped. You guys haven't looked at this as a rivalry in a long time. Let's just be honest. Yes, this wasn't on paper Cincinnati's fault, and I get that. So I want to be clear to the Cincinnati fans. But I think realignment played a hand in this, and the financial greed in college football played a hand in this, and that's why we will no longer have this rivalry game. And I hate that Miami agreed to do as many games in Cincinnati as they did in exchange for one at Yager. It's a 3 trips to Cincy, 1 to Yager, and I hate that. I think Miami's done a great job athletically with their program and everything. I think this is one of the rare misses for Miami, especially when this is your biggest and oldest rival. It should always be a home and home.
I agree. And this is disgusting.
Anyway, go Redhawks 2-0, baby.
You know what? You just swayed me. Fuck Cincinnati, right? Like they've been playing every year since 1888.
Yeah.
1880. Like what? That was the smoke was still off the musket from the fucking Civil War. Oh my God. What are we doing to the sport? You filthy, filthy TV execs. You're getting rid of the iron skillet with the TCU SMU game. We're killing these things, and it's killing me, man. And look, the Cincinnati fans don't value it as a rivalry game. Okay, because you won for what? Like you won from 2006 for 15 straight years. You won. Okay, well look at the 5 years before that. Miami won 4 out of 5. Right? This happens. You see with Ohio State, Michigan. I don't want to hear it. Miami. I hope Miami makes it 2 in a row. Let's go. And I look. They're asking for more money probably because they realize they're part of the bigger picture now in the Big 12.
Well, that's exactly what it is, and I get it. You know, they're a Big 12 program, Big 12 money. Cincinnati doesn't have that money right away. It's a process, but yeah, it's interesting. And again, you know, no disrespect to Cincinnati fans. In general, I actually like most of you, but Redhawks 2-0 after week 3.
Let's go. You see who they replaced them with, by the way?
Yeah, Bowling Green. Don't get me started. But guess what? They're not traveling to Bowling Green. They're paying Bowling Green to come down to Nippert.
Let's go Bowling Green.
But I'm just saying, Iowa State still travels to MAC stadiums. Kentucky's scheduled to go to Toledo in 2 years.
This is what I hate about this conference realignment thing. You've heard Jim Phillips. So, and NC State was supposed to play at App State next season.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Jim Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, basically put out a memo to all the ACC schools saying stop playing road group of 5 games because you're more. And I understand it. You are more susceptible to lose. Correct. I've always said in college athletics, you know, you go on the road, you lose, but we're doing this all. I blame the SEC and Big Ten in a way because all of this is a numbers crunching thing, so you can get to the playoffs with more money to compete with them. It's really horrible. It's really horrible to destroy stuff that has been going on since the beginning of fucking like I said, 1888. Do we even have electricity then? I'm like, what? What are we doing?
130 years of rivalry games gone.
It's just ridiculous, man. And every single year they played, they didn't skip one fucking year.
I think the COVID year was the only skip.
Okay. Yeah.
But like again, I mean that was a weird year anyway. Ball State went 7-1 that year.
Yeah, there we go. Let's go Cards. I just can't believe we're gonna let these fucking suits destroy. I thought they look, go destroy pro sports like you always do. Don't touch our college game. All right.
Leave us alone.
God. Yeah, I got him one. You know what? 2-0. 2-0.
Attaboy.
I'm not going with these Bearcats now. All right, take your Skyline chili. Get that shit out of here.
Hey, watch it.
Big Skyline chili guy?
I grew up a Cincinnati Reds fan, man. I love that Skyline. Okay, give me a Sky Rosa anytime I'm at Great American Ballpark.
A big Eric Davis fan growing up. So
number 44.
Oh, you gotta love Eric Davis, man. Chuck Martin, the head coach of Miami, he was the offense coordinator at Notre Dame before taking the Miami job. He was with Brian Kelly there. Well, week 3 they head to Notre Dame. Now, I can't help but remember Marshall winning at Notre Dame just 2 years ago for Marcus Freeman, or against Marcus Freeman. Could Miami, Ohio give them a game, please? Dude, it's unrealistic to think that they're going to win against 3 Power 5s in three games. But at least it's the best team in the MAC doing it. It's possible, but I got to say 2-1. What are you doing here?
That's fair. I was on with the group of 5 guys earlier this week and talked to them, and I said I love the group of 5 guys. They do a great job over there. And I put this on my hot takes for 2024. I said they beat Notre Dame, but then they drop the game at home against Cincinnati. They go 2-1 against the Power 4. So I think no matter what, it's 2-1. I feel like that's almost cemented and written in the stars.
Yeah.
But whether it's Cincinnati or Notre Dame they lose, that's where it's a coin flip. If they lose to Northwestern week 1, I think they go 0-3. I think that's how drastic that is. They beat Northwestern, then it's either Cincinnati or Notre Dame, but they're winning one of those 2 games.
I can tell you this. If they beat Notre Dame, they're going to lose to UMass. because they're going to be partying all week. Right. And Don Brown
They might
is gonna
lose
be
the rest of
sitting
their
there
schedule because they're going to party the rest of the year.
Exactly. That happened with Marshall. The year Marshall beat him, Marshall ended up like 6-7. It's like after you beat Notre Dame, you're like, oh my God,
They went and lost to Bowling Green
Yeah.
the week after.
Yes, exactly. I was on Bowling Green that week. UMass is on the schedule next. UMass is joining the MAC next year, so this is not a conference game. I do think Don Brown and UMass are going to be improved this year. I don't know that they're going to be, bowling improved, but I do think the program is headed in the right direction. Miami wins. It's at home. I got to give it to them against UMass. If it was in Amherst, maybe you could sell me on an upset, but I think they get UMass. How about you?
So they beat UMass by 13 last year at UMass. That was like a 19.5-hour game because there was a massive rain delay halfway through the game. Like it was awful. Like you hear anybody talk about that, and that's what they remember is the insane rain delay. The guy who tormented UMass, Gage Larvadain, is no longer with the team. So I think that's going to be interesting. As you mentioned, they're playing at Jaeger. I know UMass fans are so excited. They play 5 MAC teams this year, I believe. They are so excited to kind of pre-kickoff their MAC slate, and I think that this is going to be a good testament for them to come into Jaeger, put up a fight. Miami wins this one by multiple scores.
Yeah.
3-1.
And then should I skip this one?
We can talk about it. Let's talk about it. I can be unbiased.
The Glass Bowl is going to be rocking. All right. And I'm sure Alex Shear will be in attendance probably if I had to bet. This game, obviously a rematch of the MAC championship a year ago. Toledo was 11-1 in the regular season. And this game, I'm sure they've been sour taste in their mouth after that one. This has been a fun rivalry. This rivalry also, dates back to I think 1936, the first time they played. Miami does have a 6-game lead. Obviously DeQuan Finn is gone, right? You know what? I'm taking Toledo. It's at Toledo. They've been sitting there with animosity for this game for over a year. You know what I mean? Or not over a year, but close, right? I think they're going to trip up here. What are you doing here?
So this is how unbiased I really am. I actually have Miami winning this game. I think Toledo, their biggest question mark this offseason is the offensive line. They have to replace all 5 starters on the offensive line.
Right.
That's tough. Toledo, normally they have to replace a couple guys here and there. Very rarely do they have to replace the entire line. I think they got to transfer in from Ohio State, a couple other schools. So they've got transfer pieces. Toledo has some work to do to figure out here in the preseason. Then they've got a tough gauntlet too. You travel to Mississippi State, you travel to Western Kentucky, and then you get Miami at home. Right there, that's a tough 3-game sled. 2 of those games on the road. Miami gets a nice little home and away. I think that Miami wins this one, and I do truly believe that the Redhawks will get to 4-1 at this point. But I think to your point, Toledo and Miami has been a great game. They didn't play for 11 years in conference play. From 2011 up until last year was the last time they played.
That's wild.
Toledo played Ohio State more in that spread. They played Miami, Florida more in that time period than they played Miami, Ohio.
That's wild.
Yes, there's a 6-game lead, and I think that could have been bigger, could have been smaller. We don't know. 11, 12 years they didn't play. That being said, sorry for the history lesson. Give me Redhawks on the road.
Look at this. Toledo grad sitting there. Look, I like this because I'm going to take Toledo just because what did I say earlier? You go on the road, you lose at college sports.
You do.
I think the Glass Bowl will be ready for this. I think that the roster now, I will say a lot of those guys from last year are gone. So, But I think just for the fan's sake, everything, I think it's going to be, hard. It's going to be just a hard game to get that dub. The very next week they head to the factory. Ypsilanti. I got them beating Eastern Michigan, but watch out. Chris Creighton is known to pull an upset. But give me Miami, Ohio, since I have them losing. How about this? I got them going 1-1 on this back-to-back road stretch. I got them losing. So even if they get Toledo, I got the Eagles of Eastern Michigan catching them after that. Then, so give me 1-1 in that stretch to put me at 4-2. Yeah. How about you?
I can't give you 1-1. I'm going to give you 2-0 Miami in that road stretch to push them out to 5-1 on the season. And Eastern Michigan, they've got great pieces coming back. Cole Snyder, I think he's going to do a great job at quarterback. It's for me, there's some defensive question marks, a couple of offensive question marks that we won't dive into. But I think Eastern Michigan will be a competitive team this year in the MAC. I think Miami is just going to overpower them. That's the thing with this Miami defense is they will out physical anybody. They will beat you into submission. You talk about that bowl game, that Mud Bowl. They lost 13-9. App State was used to putting up 40 points a game, it seemed like last year. They beat them into submission. Granted, the weather helped, but this defense is physical and they will just be relentless. And I think that's what we're going to see happen here at Eastern Michigan. They're going to beat Eastern Michigan into submission, move to 5-1.
You're not at all concerned it's the look ahead for the Battle of the Bricks?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Beat them 30-16 last year.
Tim Albin and the Ohio Bobcats lost a ton, but these rivalry games are rivalry games. Hey, don't mess with this one, TV execs. I do have Miami, Ohio winning this though. They're just way more experienced. There's no way they lose this one.
I think they win. For me, they moved to what now 7-1. So yeah,
6-2 for me. 7-1 for you, and then they're home to the Chips. Fire up Chips. Jim McElwain on the hot seat. Can he deliver? I got them beating Central Michigan. I always feel like I don't know why that hasn't worked out. Sometimes I'll catch Central Michigan games, normally when they're playing the Power 5 schools, and I say this team looks pretty good, and then I don't know how they don't end up winning in the MAC as much as I thought. Like under McElwain, I've been impressed with some of their outings, and for some reason they can't put it together in conference, and I can't take them here because of that. But I almost feel like he's due for a big season. But give me Miami, Ohio. I mean, the fact they're at home. If this was in Mount Pleasant, then maybe I would take CMU. But I think at Yager Stadium there, give me the Redhawks. Who you taking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going Miami. This will now move them to 7-1. I apologize, I was at 6-1 earlier, but this will move them to 7-1. Again, it's at home. It's Central Michigan. They're going to rely a lot on Bert Emanuel. Maybe. If he can have a great year, I think watch out for Central Michigan. If he doesn't, and you're having this kind of QB battle, QB question mark, they're going to go as the quarterback goes. And if it's not Bert Emanuel, next man up, but you got to get guys to gel with that. And that's hard to do, especially if it's not because the other guy is hurt and you're playing inspired ball. It's because you don't know who should be your quarterback. That's my concern for Central Michigan.
Yeah. And then the very next game, they head to Muncie. Not going to get Muncie out in the middle of nowhere and take on Ball State. Schumann Stadium. I love Schumann Stadium. Underrated stadium. I got him winning this, even though I know Mike News and they're getting two desperate coaches right there for wins. But I think they're going to win that. Do you have them going into Muncie and winning?
I do. I think actually I'm looking at your game rankings here, and I feel like you actually have this one a little lower than it should be. I feel like partly because Mike.
I just didn't know if he would be the coach there then.
I mean, and that's fair, but I still think this is a rivalry. This is the Redbird rivalry. Miami only won this game by 2 at home last year, 17-15. I mean, this is an important one for both schools. The trophy's really cool. Make sure you take time to look it up. And if Mike New is still there, which I like Mike New a lot, so I hope he is, this is going to be a game. This is an important one for both schools. But I do like the Redhawks on the road.
He played quarterback there too, so it really does matter.
Yeah, he was on that MAC championship team.
I think I underestimated that, and I think I did kind of just quickly. I was putting it together, and I think I might have undervalued the rivalry aspect here. So yeah,
That's why you brought me on.
Yeah, exactly. see this, folks. I still got them winning this, but yeah, that does make it a little more dicey. Second bye week comes on November 9th, and then they're home to Kent State. I'm not bullish on Kent State this year. I just saw they're starting the freshman too, the quarterback spot. I got to favor Miami, Ohio in that defense against a freshman, even though late in the year he'll pretty much be a sophomore by then. But your thoughts on the Kent State game?
Kent State is actually, so Devin Cargman, I think, is a redshirt freshman. So
Okay.
he actually did play a little bit last year. And so, yeah, he's going to be taking over starting duties for Tommy Latowski. I think Kent State's going to be much better. They've got Luke Floria. They've got Gavin Garcia. They've got Krishawn McCray. Like, I mean, this is going to be a good offense. I think Kenny Burns has really, last year they had to replace all 11 starters on the offensive side of the ball. I don't care how good you are. You could have the best defense in the country. You're still losing 7 games when you don't know what your offense is. That being said, Kent State's not winning this game. I do think that they're going to be far more competitive, but I don't think they have the firepower to outmuscle Miami on the road.
Yes, and then the very next game is Northern Illinois. The Huskies, always a tricky opponent. Always a tricky opponent. Am I crazy? I got them winning this too. I mean, I'm sitting here at what? I have 2 losses. 2 losses going into the final week. Do you have them taking down the Huskies of Northern Illinois there at Yager Stadium?
Beating Northern Illinois again. Northern Illinois on the road. They've got great pieces. Ontario Brown is probably, if not for Jalen Buckley out of Western Michigan, Ontario Brown is probably the best running back in the MAC this year. You're going to go as far as he can carry you. Ethan Hampton is the prohibitive starter there at Northern Illinois. They lose big pieces like James Esther on the defensive side. I think they're going to play very complementary football. That's Northern Illinois style. Thomas Hammock's done a great job of trying to limit weaknesses. I think it does limit the team overall in terms of what they can do, but you try to hide your weaknesses, and that's why you go and beat Arkansas State in bowl games. Like that's why you have
and Georgia Tech. They got Georgia Tech a couple years ago, right? Or was
they
that
beat
last
Georgia
year?
Tech 22-21. But
yeah.
I think Ethan Hampton is a step down from Rocky Lombardi. Replacing him is tough. You've now got a cold midweek game in November in Oxford. Big road trip. Give me the Redhawks at home, man.
And I'm with you. Now they go to the Doit on Black Friday. A lot of people have Bowling Green as a bowl team, as a contender, a serious contender in the MAC this year. I think they're better than Bowling Green. Give me a win. Give me 10-2 or 9. I'd say, at worst, like my 9-3, 10-2 is where the over's hitting to me.
Mm-hmm.
The over's gonna hit. I just think they're better than Bowling Green.
Yeah,
I understand it's on the road, and maybe they could get upset then, especially if they're ranked. If they're ranked, maybe Bowling Green's sitting there saying, "Oh, we haven't had a top 20 team come in our house in a little bit. Let's get after it." I just think they're a better football team than Bowling Green. So I'm like, give me that win. 10-2, 9-3. I think is in the cards here. What are you doing here?
Bowling Green is one of my potential contenders. I really think that they've got all the pieces to take another step forward. Bowling Green has a good offense. They've got good offensive pieces, good defense coming back. I do think, however, for as great as Scott Loeffler has done turning that program around from the dark days of the Mike Jinks era, I think that this is a win for the Redhawks. They won this game 27-0 last year down in Oxford with Brett Gabbert, a healthy Brett Gabbert. Assuming Brett Gabbert stays healthy, I mean, you're going to see a similar result. This is going to be a really, really good season finale for them. I think last year we saw Toledo kind of struggle with Central Michigan towards the end of the season. We start to see the chinks in their armor. I don't know that that's the case for Miami this year. I think Miami's going to play really stout defense all through the year, and they're going to put an exclamation point and and a hey, look at us committee mark on this Bowling Green game.
They have a 22 game lead on Bowling Green all time.
Yeah.
Now I know that means nothing for this year, but I'm just saying they've had their number.
Yeah.
So I will side with the team that I think is just a better football team. And I'm going to be honest. I think they're a better coach team too. I mean, that's not a knock at Scotty Loeffler. That's just, well, I'm very bullish that Chuck Martin is a very, very good football coach.
Yes.
So I think 10-2, 9-3 is like, if I was setting the number, it'd be at 9.5 or maybe even a flat 9. But, I think I'm with 8. I'm on the over. I feel pretty good about it.
Yeah.
So that's plus 100 there, folks, on the over. So you got them their final record at what then?
I've got them at 11-1,
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Dropping either Notre Dame or Cincinnati. They're dropping one of those, but they're not dropping both.
Oh, I can't wait for the season. Season. Yeah, folks. Make sure we're both on the over. Both on that over. Make sure you get on over there to Twitter or X, and make sure you check out not only Twitter or X. I mean, give Alex a follow there at AS Cheer 90 there. And also the Mac Connection podcast is on Twitter at the MSC podcast. But more importantly, get on over to iTunes and give that thing subscribe. You're gonna want to know about Maction football, basketball, whatever. Look, I mean, the best part about college sports is they got all these things going. You know what I mean? So if you're curious about your Maction Tuesday games, you want to look, I think we do a good job, but let me tell you, he's a little closer to the scene. Get on over there. Mac basketball, such an underrated conference, right? You don't have to look that far back to when they won big games. All right. Yep. So get on over there. College baseball. I mean, you name it. He's covering it. I really appreciate you hopping on the show, man. And I think you guys do a great job over there, and I'm excited. How do you feel about UMass coming in the conference?
I love it. A little bit of a question mark as to if they're going to get a travel partner or if we're going to get a 14th or even a 15th. The number 13 doesn't sit well with me. The commissioner has talked repeatedly about how his number in high school and college football were number 13. So he's very okay with that number. For me, I'm not. I'm looking at it from scheduling snafus to 13 looks weird. 14 is fine. 15 looks fine. 13 is a weird number to me. So I'm hoping they get somebody else to come in. But
who would your candidates be? Like if you were the commissioner and you needed a 14th team, realistically, because obviously you don't want to say like Ohio State, but who do you think could Notre Dame? Yeah,
I'm
right.
Kidding,
that one fits. No, I'm joking. Is there a couple that you have your eyes on? Is it like, I mean, FCS ranks, or is it in the FBS but somewhere else? I mean, can you talk a little bit about what you think that would be, since you're closer to the scene, you're going to Mac Media Days and stuff like that?
Sure. One, I think you're just trying to get me canceled with Cincinnati fans and then the schools that I'm about to list.
I am always up to something here. No, I'm joking.
But I mean, a few years ago, it was talked about Middle Tennessee, Western Kentucky. I think Western Kentucky fits the footprint of the MAC a little bit better than Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee is just a little too far south.
They're a little Sunbelt-ish to me.
Well, yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have a lot of love for the Sun Belt, the Fun Belt, if you will. And so I love that conference and I love those teams. But for me, I would love Western Kentucky. I really think the MAC missed out on the opportunity to bring Delaware. I feel like that would have been a natural travel partner for UMass. But I also think that Delaware is now going to be an affiliate starting in 2025 in women's rowing. The MAC is officially sponsored. Again, here's all the MAC info. 6 schools will be competing in women's rowing in 2025. And I think the MAC missed the opportunity to say, hey, Delaware, why don't you just join us for everything? They're going to Conference USA then. And to me, it just feels like there was a missed opportunity on that.
My brother feels the same way on that. He had mentioned that too. We were curious if they would look in the Northeast. He was actually saying, he was just spitballing today, saying, why don't they go to since they have Buffalo now and UMass, why don't they try to get, a little more into the Northeast? And, he was throwing out, I think, like New Hampshire or Maine or Rhode Island or something. But The one that I would just jump out at, like, to me, would be some of those FCS ones, like, that are really good programs, like Southern Illinois, Youngstown State, or I guess Youngstown wouldn't be. It's kind of invading your territory already, so maybe that's not logical. Maybe Northern Iowa or something. But do you think if you had to choose an FCS, I thought the Delaware one would make sense too. But anything else?
So Youngstown State, I mean, that would put 7 MAC schools in the state of Ohio. That's tough.
Yeah.
Now, no disrespect to Youngstown State, great program, great history. The MAC plays them in a bunch of things. They're actually an affiliate in women's lacrosse. And I want to say field hockey. I could be wrong on that, but I know that they've been an affiliate in different sports. Youngstown State would be a great fit overall. I just think adding a 7th team to Ohio is the tough
not
look.
likely. Yeah,
But Southern Illinois, Illinois State, Indiana State. I think any of those 3 would be a great addition. Maybe not for football. Indiana State would be phenomenal for baseball. For basketball
too. Yeah.
Southern Illinois would be a quality football ad. Illinois State, solid basketball. So I feel like, you got to look at the value, not just in one sport, but in multiple sports. And I think that these schools would all offer the MAC some sort of value across the board.
Yeah. Our shout out to R Wright in the chat. Who just gave us $20, and he says, "How about the MAC title game / playoff chances?"
We could do
it. If you have an 11-1, I think they're right in the mix. Yeah. They'll be if it's 10-2 or 9-3, like I said. It really depends what they do with those. The opportunity here, I think, is better than people realize. A lot of people think, well, the MAC is further behind, the Mountain West or AAC and Sun Belt, but I don't know. With this schedule, with your best team playing 3 Power 5s, to me, even if they go 10-2, but that win is Notre Dame, and their losses are, I don't know, Cincinnati and Toledo, and you have 2 Power 5 wins there, or maybe it's just 1 Power 5 win, but it's Notre Dame or Cincinnati, and Cincinnati makes a bowl, I think they would be in the mix still with 2 losses. So it's an underrated play, because you hear everyone else mentioning Boise, Fresno, Memphis, UTSA, Liberty, App State. I think Miami should be in that mix, and they're not giving them their respect to win a championship with your backup quarterback. And now you get your starter back and a bunch of other players, and you play. And most of them don't have 3 Power 5s on the schedule, so opportunity is really there. I find it fascinating. So, I mean, playoff chances, though, I think it's so hard to generate that, because you don't know how Boise would do. You don't know how Liberty, there's a million intangibles, but I would say Miami, Ohio is their best chance, because I don't know that any group of 5 school, a good group of 5 school, has 3 Power 5s. I know, like Kent State or something that has been down, or New Mexico or something. But my point is that to have a good one, get 3 Power 5s, it really aligns for you to make that run. MAC championship, you have them playing who?
So this is going to be my take that I doubled down on all year. So flame away, everybody listening. Give me my grad school, the Bobbies, taking on the Redhawks in a rematch in the MAC championship. I know that's way out of left field.
I like it. I made the case for it.
Tim Albin has had back-to-back 10-win seasons. Parker Navarro is
love that kid. Underrated
for a good year. Again, they got rated by the portal, defensive, just everything. But I really like Parker Navarro. I think that he is a great quarterback. He has a bowl win. Ricky Hunt, the running back, they're going to rely on him a lot.
Remember what he did?
He had
in the bowl
5
game?
tutties in the bowl game this last year.
I played DFS against someone that rostered him, and I was like, "Who the hell is that?" This was his first start of his career. 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was insane. So I think Ohio offensively is going to be better than people give them credit for. Defensively, yes, they lost a lot of things. Defensive coordinator heading out, that's tough. But I do think that Ohio is going to be better, and their schedule. I've got this pulled up here. Their schedule is not terrible. They don't get Toledo. They get Miami. They get Bowling Green. They get Kent State, Western Michigan. They get Toledo at home. They avoid Western Michigan. I mean, they avoid Bowling Green. Like the MAC's not doing divisions anymore. They're doing pods. So they're taking the best 2 teams. I think a 2 conference loss Ohio team could be in the MAC championship game. So I have Miami and Ohio playing each other.
Battle of the Bricks championship game. Sign me up, folks, and make sure you check out Alex. I can't wait for the season. Just hypothesizing that. And by the way, shout out to Cracky the Cocaine Bear there. He says Kobe and the boys need to come lit on Brick Street and come get lit. I think
Brick Street is great.
Yeah. I haven't been. I need to get out there.
Brick Street is great. I
had some family that went there too, and I didn't even take the opportunity to go. But I'll get there. You got my word on that at some point there. Folks, remember the Mac Connection podcast. All right. Alex Shear is his name, and he does a great job covering it. I'm sure I'm going to try to get him back on a couple other Mac previews if he's got some spare time. Appreciate you. I'm on Twitter at @TheColbyD. Give me a follow at @TheColbyD. The College Football Experience is on Twitter at TCE on SGPN. We're continuing to break out all 134 teams in the land, folks. And check out the Stadium Heads podcast. Myself, Michael Barker, talking about the history of college football stadiums. You can't tell the history of college football stadiums without some of these gems in the MAC. So check it out. We talk about every single stadium in the MAC. We have a whole episode dedicated to that. So check out the Stadium Heads podcast. Also check out the College Basketball Experience. Moneyline Mac, the other Mac, is doing great episodes. He's had just a few MAC coaches on in the past week talking MAC college basketball. You got to check it all out. Also the College Baseball Experience, and all of those shows come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. Hit that like and subscribe button. Till next time, folks, we're both on the over. I would love to see the Redhawks in the playoffs. Let's go. This is the College Football Experience. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot.